Fans longed for a live-action Titans show for years, and multiple studios toyed with the idea. In 2018, DC launched its own streaming service, where Titans was finally brought to live action. After a 4-season run, it was tragically ended, leaving us with the question, did Titans ever reach its full potential? Hello, and welcome to Television Tuesday, the show where we watch TV and tell you all about it. I'm your host, Kel McCall. Today I'm sitting with my co-host, Garrett Farah, and we are talking DC's Titans.
Getting right into the cast list of a stellar cast. We've got Brendan Thwaites as Nightwing or Dick Grayson, Tegan Croft as Rachel or Raven, Anna Diop as Starfire, Ryan Potter as Beast Boy or Gar.
That is your team for the whole show, but one of the things that the show does really well is bring in other characters, flip-flop the team. These editions feature Ian Glenn as Bruce Wayne, one of the heroes of Game of Thrones, one of the heroes of this show. Like, his take of Batman is really weird, but what a solid actor who brings it in every scene that he's in. Curran Walter as Jason Todd is amazing. Minka Kelly as Dove, Alan Ritchson as Hawk, Connor Leslie as Donna Troy, Joshua Orpin as Superboy, and Asai Morales as Deathstroke is killer.
Oh, and we could go on for quite a long time here. We've got characters like Scarecrow, Brother Blood, Trigon, Jericho, Blackfire, Tim Drake, Mark Gordon, and a lot of others. And just such an amazing cast job throughout all of these characters. And for a show to have such a tight cast along many, many characters, it just...
So we're going to start by talking about the characters for a minute, and we're going to start also with some spoiler-free conversation about the show. So if you're kind of clicking on this video thinking, should I watch the show? I didn't finish the show. How was the end? Like, this will be a little bit of a spoiler-free topic for you, and the characters are awesome. Garrett, who are some of your favorite characters?
Dick Grayson, Nightwing, Robin, is the best. I've wanted to see Nightwing and Dick Grayson be brought to life for such a long time, and I think Brendan Thwaites just absolutely nailed it, just right on the head.
I second that 100%, dude. He's gonna be number one on both of our lists here, just because he carries this show. And not to say that the show's always bad, but it's not as good as some of the highlights sometimes. Mm-hmm. And at the core of that is Brendan Thwaites carrying the show.
Oh, absolutely. On top of that, Rachel or Raven, the show is very centered towards her character, and like starting with the season 1 kind of arc and then where season 4 ends up, like her character is just so pivotal to the show. And I thought that Tegan Croft really played a really good Raven, especially, growing up seeing, the Teen Titans show and them kind of adapting a similar story arc. Like, it felt very reminiscent of that, but also just, I loved her portrayal of her. Like, she was such a fun Raven, but also had that dark side to her.
Yeah, she was such a fun character, such a fun actress to play the character.
Probably my last favorite that I'll talk about was Hawk.
Surprised me to see him right there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I loved Hawk. Seeing the first season, and we'll get into this a little bit more, like, Hawk and Dove are part of the reason I kept watching that show. Like, their dynamic with themselves and with the team and in just kind of their personal lives, like, I thought they were just well-written characters. And Alan Ritchson, I said Hawk, but really Hawk and Dove I feel very similarly about. I thought watching the first season that the show started to pick up at Hawk and Dove, that, like, episode 3.
You're totally right about that. My favorite characters, obviously Dick Grayson, dude. Jason Todd Red Hood was amazing.
Yeah.
It's like the Scarecrow take on Red Hood was a little weird, but him just as Red Hood was awesome. The Nightwing Red Hood fight, probably easily the best fight in the show.
Oh, absolutely.
Like probably one of the better fights in like any DC show, truly.
Yeah, it was great.
To pick another favorite character, I kind of have a revolving door here. I really like Raven. I like Deathstroke. Scarecrow was a weird guy, but old pothead Scarecrow was somebody I loved watching on screen. But he's not going to be your favorite Scarecrow.
No.
Beast Boy was cool, underutilized.
See, I almost put Beast Boy on my list, but I do also feel like he was underutilized in the show. And I love Ryan Potter as an actor.
But you know who ends up taking the third spot? Donna Troy.
Oh, that's a
Dude,
good thing.
she is consistently awesome. And she'll just put Dick in his place, just kind of walks in, rejoins the Titans at different moments in the show, and she was part of the original team as well. The flashbacks that you get to the original team are insanely awesome.
Oh, they're so good.
Spoiler free, do you like the show?
Oh, absolutely. I like the show. It's a show that I could go back and rewatch. It's got such good moments in it that I look forward to seeing again when I watch it. You know, the beginning and end of the show had some rough patches that we'll kind of get into more later. Overall, that core middle and watching with all of these really great, strong characters makes me want to rewatch the show. And I really overall like it.
Yeah, I think it's a very character-driven show. Unless we're dealing with characters making decisions, I don't think the plot ever brings a whole lot to the table.
Yeah.
It is following these characters and kind of following their individual plots and having those come together. And you follow the Titans. That I do really like. You couldn't pick a better live-action Titans cast, and I wouldn't want this show to have anybody else in it. You know, I do really like the show. I have a lot of problems with the end of it, and I do think that it has a semi-weak start, but also I was one of the people who liked season 1, and I even put Garrett on watching season 1 before season 2 came out, so we were able to watch the whole entire show live as it came out, and that was really enjoyable. For multiple reasons we'll get into. The poll that they do mid-show is crazy. And let's go ahead and cut into some spoilers right here. We're going to start with talking about season 1. The show never became as big or as good as it could have been, or maybe that it was supposed to be. This was supposed to be a really good show. I remember when TNT had it years before it ever came to us, but they were gearing up to make a huge show out of this, and there were just so many creative differences that this is what we ended up getting in 2018. But the damn thing premiered on the DC Universe app, and nobody had that thing. It was expensive. Nobody wanted to pay for another streaming service just to get DC content. On top of that, people didn't like season 1. People who did buy the app didn't buy it again for season 2. They didn't renew it for a whole year just to watch season 2 of a show where they didn't like season 1. People said it was dark. And I want to talk about Batman. Batman was the staple of season 1. You could bring up this show to somebody and I don't like that. Dick Grayson said Batman.
Yeah.
And it's one of these things of Batman tells me what this show is about. You have these moments where these guys are, oh, we're not fighting Batman, we're fighting Robin. Dick Grayson beats the hell out of them and says, Batman, I'm my own person. But people hated on the show so much for that moment in season 1. I feel like it turned so many people off immediately, and they just, the show's too dark. Raven's plot is dark throughout season 1. What were your thoughts on season 1? Because I got you to watch this, and it put us on watching the whole show, but I didn't know what your thoughts were going to be, but I thought you would like it.
The show as a whole in season 1 kind of had that slow start. They used that Batman as a promotional section for season 1. They did! The DC Universe didn't have a bunch, but it was we're going to give you Doom Patrol and Young Justice season 3 and Batman. And you're like, what is this?
What?
And, and then you watch the first couple episodes and you're like, oh, okay, this is definitely different and kind of a older, almost Dick Grayson Robin and Starfire. You kind of don't really get exactly where you're going, especially Beast Boy, who is, for most of the show, even Beast Boy in name, because he's just kind of Gar.
Yeah.
And you're seeing this, and you're like, I don't really know where this is going. And then you're like, yeah, this is dark, because even Hawk and Dove's plot is dealing with, his heroin addiction and, some, sexual assault and stuff when he was young. And it's the show is very mature and dark. And at the time, it was kind of a nice tonal change of pace. Coming off of the CW DC shows, it was I kind of like this feel a little bit more, and I thought thematically it was really nice.
I don't want to spend too much time talking about season 1, but one thing we both kind of mulled over was Starfire's plot of her just trying to figure out who am I?
Yeah.
And walking through season 1 with like no clue in the world as to what's going on, it was like, Starfire's plot is consistently one I don't really care for until the end of the show.
Yeah, until like the back half, starting to lean through season 2, and then seasons 3 and 4 I start to really kind of care more. But that first season was just like, oh yeah, Starfire's somewhere. She doesn't really know. We don't really know. Her plot kind of starts off with like, oh, I think I'm supposed to be killing Raven, but like I don't know. She seems like a cool kid, and it's like I don't really know like what your motives are here.
Right, she ends up becoming a damn Titan.
Yeah,
like none of it really ever matters because she just ends up becoming a damn Titan, and she's a really good one.
Oh yeah.
Like by the end of it too, and people hated on her casting so much, but I really liked her portrayal of the character. Like when the writing was good.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, like, the writing wasn't always good for her. You end up moving to season 2, and like I said, it's such a shame that not many people stuck around for season 2 because
season 2 was good.
Season 2 is awesome.
Yeah.
Deathstroke as a villain was cool. And Arrow had a good Deathstroke. But
yeah.
this dude rivaled him as the best Deathstroke.
Oh, absolutely. You know, there were such cool elements to season 2 because you do get, you know, we talked about previously the flashbacks to the original Titans in season 2.
Yes.
And you kind of see Deathstroke's motive for why he wanted to kill the Titans is just kind of like, oh, they kind of messed up stuff with his son and Jericho, and he ended up kind of dying. And it
kind of have like this Judas contract plot going on.
And they're kind of manipulating him, and it's like a really kind of shitty thing that they're doing.
Yeah.
But seeing the original team with Hawk and Dove and Dick and Donna Troy, and Wally gets kind of a mention, but he's never really shown. But you do see Aqualad.
You quickly notice, like, oh man, if he would have been in this entire show, he would have been one of the coolest characters in the show because he was so fun to watch in the episode he's in. And it's like, that's like a regret I think they could have is like, man, there was so much potential for a cool character there, and they used it for like 1 or 2 episodes.
Oh yeah, but shout out to the writers for being able to create characters so cool that they can pop up for a couple episodes and still be like fan favorites.
True, and I'll even throw that over from the writers, like, because they did a good job at times too. But the costume department, who could always just bring these characters to life with a really good costume like Aqualad.
Oh, absolutely, that's a great point. So one of the coolest things that I thought happened in season 2 was during a fight between Deathstroke and Jason Todd. Jason Todd gets kicked out of a tall building, and between the episodes, the DC Universe app threw out a poll. A poll similarly to what they did years ago in the comics of, should we kill Jason Todd?
It was originally, should Joker kill Jason Todd?
Yes.
Yeah.
And now it's being thrown up again in this scenario. As many comic fans may know, everyone voted to kill Jason Todd originally, but not this time. This time, Jason Todd gets to live.
And I thought this was so cool because he comes in the first season towards the end, and he's just like, oh yeah, we're not in Gotham, like Batman doesn't let me beat cops, and so now that I'm in Detroit, I'm beating cops, and who gives a damn about anything? I'm Robin.
Yeah.
It's this super fun dynamic that he brings.
It's such a fun kind of juxtaposition to seeing like Dick Grayson being like, you know, I've got to be tough and away from Batman and all this stuff. And then he sees this little street rat Jason being in the Robin costume, just like, yo, what up? I'm Robin now.
Titans are back, bitches! Woo!
He was such a likable character through the end of season 1 and season 2. And so the people who are telling me that Titans is too dark, I'm like, dude, you didn't finish season 1 because Jason Todd brings so much life into it.
One other thing I do want to touch on, with a lot of people didn't like season 1 as well because the season 1 finale is actually season 2 episode 1.
True, and that is super weird. The whole Trigon plot wraps up, and it's almost like they decide not to go that route with the show.
Yeah.
And then they end up going back to that route for season 4. I get going back to Trigon, but ultimately I think maybe we should have went with something else because Trigon plot didn't work out the first time. Other things I want to mention in season 2 is we do get the introduction to Superboy because he ends up saving Jason Todd.
Yes.
And, we get the Deathstroke, the Jericho plot wraps out, and we deal with a lot of Dick Grayson's guilt because he feels bad for what they did the first time. And you kind of get this new motivation for him. It's like, we're not going to run the Titans that way anymore, and we're going to do this and try to help people. Yeah. We talked about how much we love season 2, but it has a huge problem. You follow just Dick Grayson the whole time, and he's not Robin anymore, but he doesn't know what the hell he wants to do, and he's just kind of running the team and not doing anything. Finally, he becomes Nightwing at the end of the season in this big fight, and that's all really cool. But throughout the rest of the show, I don't think you get to see him as Nightwing a ton. One of the things I think, as great as Brenton Thwaites is at carrying the drama of the show, I would have liked to see Nightwing more. We transition into probably my favorite season of the show, which is season 3 in Gotham. And we pick up on Dick Grayson waking up in Gotham and talking to Bruce Wayne, who's standing at his door ominously. Mm-hmm. And I'm just kind of like, hey, what'd you just do? and Bruce Wayne is, yeah, I killed Joker. Because what happens between seasons 2 and 3 is that Joker gets Jason anyways.
Mm-hmm. And, kind of going back to the vote of everything, people being like, no, we want Jason to live. I think that's super telling for where kind of the rest of the characters started to make decisions. Because after Joker still goes through and beats Jason about to death, this was kind of the line for this version of Bruce Wayne. He was like, no. Like, the people kind of decided that Jason should live, and they broke that agreement. And so Bruce snapped, and he crossed that line and killed Joker, and I loved that.
Yeah, I did too. I think it was really interesting because they've always kind of tried to find ways to pull Batman out of the show.
Oh, yeah.
And you even, see Batman. It's like at the end of season 1, mm-hmm. You kind of get that maybe this is a little bit of an unstable Batman. Like, Ian Glenn's Batman never completely grabbed hold of maybe Bruce Wayne, and Batman just kind of dominated his life for a long time. And you kind of see that through Dick Grayson not being able to have a personal life throughout the show.
Oh, absolutely.
And that he struggles with that. I think one of the themes of the show is life balance. Ian Glenn's Batman is kind of like the bad example of balance here, and that's why he goes through the ringer kind of off screen most time. You don't ever really know what he's up to, but he's having a bad time usually. Yeah. Bruce Wayne is like, yeah, I killed him, I'm not Batman anymore because I did that. I broke my rule, so I obviously can't keep doing my thing, but you're going to have to be Batman now, and you're going to have to watch over Gotham. So Dick Grayson knows, as much as I would have loved to see Brenton Thwaites play Dick Grayson Batman, it was really cool to see the Titans kind of running Gotham. And they all get into Gotham, and they're like, yo, this is out of our league.
Things are unwell in Gotham, which I think is also the kind of up severity of where Gotham State is. I think is also very telling for Ian Glenn's Batman, because he was kind of a more unstable Batman. Gotham was a more unstable Gotham, which is a wild sentence.
No, and I love the world building here, because anytime they talk about Gotham, they're just, you do not want to go there. So we get some interesting stuff here. The whole Scarecrow drugging Jason and him becoming Red Hood that way was super interesting to me. It was weird, just because Scarecrow's weird. He's funny, though.
Gave me, Hannibal vibes of, Dick going up to Arkham and being like, Scarecrow, here's a bomb, give me information.
Yeah.
I don't know, just made for fun scenes. His whole arc with Jason and kind of having this drugged up Jason that almost gives me the vibe of Thomas Wayne Batman and kind of the things he was going through it made for some dark turns with Jason. And one of those that I really touched on and almost made me not dislike the character, but I think it was almost an unforgivable decision, was Jason kills Hank this season.
Yeah.
Just straight up blows him up. There is I think it's episode 3 of season 3, that they are just trying to disarm the bomb that Jason has put inside of Hawk's chest. And it's a rough kind of go about from seeing them being like, Jason, yeah, kid, whatever, you're kind of getting on our nerves, you're kind of a little much for the team, to oh, you are enemy number one.
You know, they end up getting him to come down, and, like, obviously he was drugged the entire time, and it wasn't the Jason we knew from seasons 1 and 2. He's damaged by the end, but I do like the arc of him kind of coming back around and just, you know, I need to take myself out of the equation for a while. Like, nobody needed to step down from vigilanteing than Jason Todd at this moment. It ends up being really cool. The fight with Dick is amazing. Dude, Barbara Gordon's a really fun character.
Oh, yeah.
She's very stuck in her ways, but she's Jim's daughter.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's really cool. They had announced after season 3 that the show would end in 5 seasons, and, you know, Garrett and I are theorizing, you know, that's pretty good length for the show. We're pretty excited for 2 more seasons and to see where they kind of wrap everything up with 2 seasons to do that. During season 4 airing, James Gunn takes over, and they announced that this is going to be the last season of the show, but they did have time to write an ending. The funny thing is that the ending sucks and is a disgrace to all of the characters that are in this show and all of the actors who did such a good job portraying them. They just wrap everything up at the end for convenience sake, and everyone's just kind of going their separate ways, and you're left with Dick and Starfire.
You know, I liked the beginning of season 4, and I was even kind of sold into the Superboy Lex plot that they were going on. Fun Lex Luthor cast. I know he wasn't around long, but I liked him, and that plot was kind of weird and hard to get into, but I was like, okay, cool. Like, this will stretch out over, like, this season, and the next season we'll get back into Superboy, except there was no next season.
So we never really get full Superboy.
Yeah.
We never get full Gar.
No.
We don't even see Rachel fully extend her powers after she goes White Raven for a little bit, and, like, I don't know, it's just super unfulfilling to, like, where you see the team at the end, and everybody's leaving, and, you know, Gar had a whole plot that was being set up that just kind of doesn't get finished.
Yeah, no, Gar had everything with the red and, like, his connection to everything, which was cool and I enjoyed it, but it was like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna go do that now. He was kind of gone out of the show for a few episodes, just kind of exploring this, and it was cool. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I would have loved to actually see him kind of fully take over that Beast Boy role.
Mother Mayhem and Brother Blood weren't my favorite, you know.
Yeah.
Them bringing Trigon back for 0.5 seconds was...
I love the Trigon plot. I don't like the Trigon character. Like, you never really get to fully see Trigon. Like, you don't get to see the big red demon. I think that's kind of lackluster. Like, I do like Sebastian Blood. Mother Mayhem could be if about, but I was really looking forward to this. Like, okay, the Titans are culminating. You know, we started off in season 1, and we've slowly had this thing. We've got White Raven now. Show me Trigon. Give me this big fight. And they went, we'll give you less. Not even a season 5.
Right, and I think had we have gotten to season 5, we would have had a big throwdown with Trigon.
Oh, yeah.
Like, in this epic, the Titans save the world kind of style battle with Trigon. But instead, we get season 4, which is just like, hey, let's wrap up the Trigon plot as fast as we possibly can. Season 4 was disappointing.
Yeah.
Really disappointing. Superboy's plot's lackluster at the end. Beast Boy, Raven, Starfire.
I think the most disappointing one of all these is they introduce a new character, Tim Drake Robin.
Oh, dude, yeah, we totally skipped over that.
And Tim Drake Robin, I loved his character. He becomes Robin at the end of the season, and then they end the show. You get this even great kind of training episode with Jason, and they bring him back in season 4.
Oh, dude, yes.
Yeah.
The training episode with Dick and with Tim and Jason is one of the best episodes of the show.
Oh, yeah.
And like how it was supposed to happen that way the whole time, and Jason made it kind of seem like, oh
yeah, Dick and Jason were just kind of talking about it, like, hey, I need you to train him, like, get him ready.
Yeah.
And yeah, they build up Tim's character the whole season, and that's it. They just build up to him putting on the suit 1-2 good times,
And, you know, I also think, like, they spend a lot of time going into his love life that doesn't really work out.
Yeah.
in the end, where they're just like, oh, we'll be friends at the end.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, like, why'd we have to spend so much time here if it wasn't even gonna, be something later?
Right. Like, you're wasting time on such a good character and a good actor.
Yeah, but Tim Drake is another character they kind of dropped the ball with. And it leaves me with saying, like, I really enjoy this show. People who enjoyed this show deserved a better ending to it. Like, the people who made this show deserved a better ending. And it really saddens me if it was a case of James Gunn just, like, not wanting them to make the show anymore. I don't know, like, why the show was canceled, but it sucks that it was. And I'll look back at this show and, like, take the good things, like the characters, like seeing Dick Grayson and Jason Todd in live action like this, we've never seen. You know, Dick Grayson was in live action a long time ago, but it's not one of those things we look back on and revere. Like, but I think this will be like, this is the first like really successful Titans live action group.
It is, and it's something, you know, that is one of my favorite aspects of DC Comics. Titans, I've read many of the Titans runs, and also just the Bat family as a whole. Like, I loved it. I loved seeing it come to life, and I just really hated that it got cut short the way it did.
So, ultimately, did Titans ever reach its full potential? I don't think so. I think this show could have been a whole lot better. We hope you enjoyed this video, and we hope that you'll take a look at some stuff coming up on the Studio 24 channel. Coming soon, we have our horror month in October. We're going to be releasing 4 horror short films. We already have a couple on the channel. They Took Her, Don't Press Record. Go check those out to get an idea for what's coming, but what's coming is going to be better than anything you've seen yet. Take a look at Studio Cinema Saturday as well. We've done Iron Claw, Roadhouse, Civil War, all kinds of movies for you. We've done Maxine this upcoming week, so I hope you're enjoying some of that content. On Television Tuesday, we've got Avatar: The Last Airbender, Invincible, and much more coming for you. We'll see you there. Very cool.
Yep.